What is up, guys? Welcome to the Dynasty Fan Podcast. We got a good show for you today, talking about Week 7 waivers. And just a quick little rundown of the show layout. These are all guys that are less than 50% owned on leagues on Sleeper. And we're going to give you the top ads at each position. So we'll be talking quarterbacks, tight ends, running backs, and wide receivers. As well as, guys, stick around for the end of the show. We have our strikeout ads, which are basically if you wake up in the morning, you didn't get your guy. These are some guys that are pretty much guaranteed to be there on your waiver wire. And some people that we think have some decent little upside in the coming weeks might help you on the bye weeks. So be sure to stick around for that part at the end as well. So what's up, Brian? How you doing today, man?
Doing well, man. Excited to talk some waivers. We got a couple of good options on the waivers this week, I think, for people that play in 12 team or 14 team leagues. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I think they can be for shallower leagues too, but yeah, definitely these are some deeper waiver wire flyers for you. So starting in at QB, we have Matt Ryan, and we even threw in a little bonus. We're getting the QBs out the way. Little bonus with super flex leagues with Tyler Heinicke. We know Wentz is down for a few weeks, and it seems like they're going to get the nod to the veteran Tyler Heinicke. He's been there a few years, and he's filled in nicely, right, as he's come in before in the past, gotten a couple 20-plus point games. He's got the rushing upside. So Tyler Heinicke in your super flex leagues, he's only 2% rostered, right? So he's a guy you can add in your super flex leagues. And then in your shorter leagues, right, 10, 12 team leagues, Matt Ryan, 30% rostered right now. And he's got a good schedule coming up. He just coming off a big game, almost 400 yards passing. The next few games, he's got Tennessee, Washington, New England, Las Vegas. So all decent matchups coming up for your bye weeks, right? If you need a streaming quarterback, Matt Ryan might be the guy for you.
Hey, man, he had his best game of the season this past week. They threw, I think, close to 60 times. I don't anticipate that happening again, but I think that they definitely found something, right? They're looking to see what he does best. We also see like he's developing some chemistry with not only Michael Pittman, also Alec Pierce, which is good to see. Alec Pierce is looking like a solid wide receiver too for the Indianapolis Colts. So he's getting some weapons, and hopefully Jonathan Taylor comes back. So yeah, he's definitely somebody I'm looking at. Um, if I need a quarterback for injury reasons, or because we got bye weeks coming up, or maybe a two QB or a super flex league for sure.
Now moving over to our tight ends. So blast from the past, man. Robert Tonyan, 47% rostered still on sleeper leagues, and Mike Gesicki finally got a little work. I think Tonyan had 10 targets, man. It was good to see Robert Tonyan. He was kind of one of those deep little flyers that I took on some of our two tight end leagues, right? Stashed him and in hopes that he would kind of regain some of that glory he had for us a few seasons ago. And definitely a good game for him, right? We have no Randall Cobb, and he seemed to fill in quite nicely there, right? His tight end role got a lot of receptions, got a lot of targets. And then Mike Gesicki finally gets a glimpse of hope, glimpse of life. He got two TDs, but definitely got a few targets as well. So good to see. And possibly, right, for these coming weeks, you got the bye weeks coming up. These might be solid options. I prefer Tanyan over Gasecki because we've seen Tanyan get targets in a couple of other games as well. Whereas Gasecki, this is pretty much his first sign of life. So I prefer Tanyan, but these are both good options on your waiver wire for these coming up weeks. What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah, man, I really like Robert Tonyan. Out of these two guys, I think that with the loss of Randall Cobb, there's definitely an opportunity opening up even more so for Robert Tonyan. And we have seen in the past, he has put up top 5 or 6 tight end numbers with Rodgers. So I think that, if out of these two guys, I think I prefer Tonyan for upcoming weeks if I needed a tight end.
Coming up. And now moving over into our wide receivers, you mentioned Alec Pierce, who I definitely like in the Indianapolis Colts offense, but he's over 50% owned now, rightfully so. Another game, good game for him, man. Double digit fantasy points about 3 weeks in a row. So solid night for Alec Pierce again. But we're going to mention now Parris Campbell, right? Only 8% owned in your sleeper leagues. Campbell came out, they threw the ball a lot, right? So that's worth mentioning. They threw almost 60 times. So that was crazy. So obviously everybody got targets, but still 11 targets for Paris Campbell. He gets 7 receptions for 57 yards and a touchdown. So definitely good to see. He played 100% of the snaps, right, for his first time this season. So that's definitely worth mentioning. Paris Campbell almost guaranteed on your waiver wire if you need right? Him for the bye weeks, right? Possibly. But just a good little stash maybe coming up. We'll see how it goes if he continues. If Matt Ryan, like I said earlier, they got a good little stretch of games coming up. So Parris Cambell might be a good little ad for your coming weeks right now.
Yeah, I agree, man. I liked him. I drafted him in Dynasty years ago, and when he's played, he's been, productive early on in his career. It's the injuries that have really just hampered him, and now they have Alec Pierce there. So, it is going to be a little bit more difficult. But he had a great game. It was his best game by far in the last at least 2 years, man. So yeah, let hopefully, he's showing some signs of life. Hopefully, the coaching staff notice that, and hopefully, he can be productive for us moving forward a little bit.
Yep, absolutely, man. So going into wide receiver two, the next two guys, we got some rookies, man. We love to talk rookies here on the Dynasty Fan Podcast. And we're talking Tyquan Thornton, only 4% owned. So this guy is a burner, man. He had the highest 40 time out of wide receivers at the NFL Combine, ran a 4.28. So he's got some speed, man. Only 57% of the snaps. But what I like is that they use him in the run game as well. Got 3 carries, 16 yards, got a rushing touchdown, mind you. Then he got 4 receptions for 40 yards, got a receiving touchdown as well. So a big night, right, with Bailey Zappi in there, right? We'll see if Bailey Zappi, man, he's been doing pretty good. He's been doing respectable, did good against the Browns. We'll see if he can hold Mac Jones off for another week or so. But I like what I'm seeing from Tyquan Thornton. He's definitely got some talent. He's got the speed, like we said, to make some plays. And I like him just as a good little weapon, right? That's what they drafted him for, right? Patriots wanted a little weapon with some speed, a little deep threat. So I like Tyquan Thornton going forward.
Yeah, I agree, man. I really like Tyquan Thornton. I liked him coming out of college. He was a second round pick, and he's like you said, he's a burner, man. And I really think they could use him kind of like Curtis Samuel, right? Some rushes out of the backfield, some quick throws in the flat to try to use his speed, and a down the field deep threat, which they need in this offense, right? They have Jacoby Myers and sometimes Devontae Parker, but that's really it, man. So there definitely is an opportunity for this rookie. So glad I got a couple shares of him in Dynasty.
And moving on to our wide receiver one pickup on the week. He's 20% rostered, right? And he had a little bit more hype coming into the NFL, right? So Wandale Robinson, only 20% rostered right now. A lot of people have been waiting for him, right? For him to make his debut, right? He gets in there, right? He got hurt week one. So finally he gets a shot to come back in there. This guy in college, man, 40%, basically 40% target share. So he can earn some targets, and he did that already. He goes in there, 23% of the snaps, gets 4 targets, 3 receptions for 37 yards, and gets a touchdown already, man, pretty much in his first game back. So I like Wanda Robinson going forward. The Giants got a lot of people out, a lot of people hurt, and Wanda Robinson could fill in nicely, man. I think he's got a good little role going forward in this offense, and I think he's going to get involved, man.
Yeah, I agree, man. I think, like you said, there's a big need for wide receiver with the Giants offense. So, I mean, he's going to get a shot, right? My only concern, I guess, would be that he didn't really play a lot, right? I think he had like a 23% snap share. But after this game, you would expect that to go up, right? I would expect that to at least double, give him half the snaps. Let's get him up to 50%. I mean, they need playmakers besides Barkley. They have so many guys out and in and out of their lineup. They need some consistency at the wide receiver position. Maybe Wandale Robinson can provide that for them moving forward.
Yep. So transitioning into our RBs. So these are some deep flyers here, right? And they all got some decent little upside coming up, right? So kind of speculative ads right here. So Deontay Foreman right here, our RB3, right? Right now, most high end handcuffs, right? Right. You can talk Deion Jackson, right? He got banged up, but he's over 50% rostered already. And you got possibly Taylor coming back, and as well as Naheem Hines possibly coming back. So Deion Jackson definitely worth mentioning. Had an awesome night, right? This past weekend. So, but Deontay Foreman, right? We have a lot of trade talks right now. There's 4 teams interested in CMC, right? So the phones are ringing, and I think it's possible, right? If CMC were to move on, you got Deontay Foreman. He filled in nicely, right? Last year for Derrick Henry when Derrick Henry went down. So Deontay Foreman, I think, is a sneaky little ad right now in anticipation for CMC being moved.
Yeah, I agree, man. I picked him up in a couple of dynasties where he was available. And we'll see. A lot of teams are interested in CMC. It makes sense for the Panthers to move on from him if they can, and if they do, maybe Deontay Foreman can provide us, some fantasy points moving forward. There's going to be a huge need if they do move on from McCaffrey. So we'll see. But yeah, definitely a speculative ad, especially in deeper leagues. And like I said, if you have any dynasty leagues, he's available. He might be worth scooping up right now for sure.
So moving on to our RB2 ad right here is Kyren Williams. So in a similar vein, we already know it's pretty much as good as done. Cam Akers is going, right? They already said he played his last snap pretty much for the Rams. Not sure what happened, but either way, we know that he is pretty much being shopped around. And he probably, even if he stays, I mean, they're not going to play him right after all this. Right? He hadn't been showing up, I think, to some practices and stuff. So I think Cam Akers pretty much good as done. So Kyren Williams, this is the guy, man. They liked him coming in. We had a lot of buzz in training camp that really he was going to be like that RB2, right? They wanted to work him in, right? And he was going to compete for that RB2 spot. So I like Kyren Williams right now as a speculative ad. Get him now, right? He's on the IR, but he should be off soon. He's already been in there over 4 weeks. So it's possible that he can come back, right? It was a sprained ankle, right? A high ankle sprain, I think. So he should be back pretty soon, though, a week or two. So I think he's a good little speculative ad because once Cam Akers is gone, right, they're going to start. Malcolm Brown will be picked up, and Kyren Williams will be the next guy. But I like Kyren Williams for sure over Malcolm Brown in that Rams offense. What you think about Mr. Kyren?
Well, I think he's a good ad for sure. He's definitely a better pass catcher than Malcolm Brown. He's the rookie. He's going to be fresh. He's young legs. So I like adding Kyren Williams. I also think that Cam Akers is a good of a buy low as he'll ever be. I'm not a huge Cam Akers fan. I know he hasn't looked the same after the injury. But if I'm in Dynasty, if I can get him as a throw in piece to one of my trades, I would definitely do that. There's a chance that he can just get flat out cut. If he gets cut and he can go and sign with the San Francisco 49ers, or he signs with another team that might need a running back, right? His value will go up. So if that happens, then maybe we can trade him for something else, right? If nothing else. So I don't know, just little Cam Akers news, I guess.
Yeah,
Hopefully he'll
yeah,
sign in a good spot.
yeah. I'm hoping so, man. Buffalo would be a good spot, somewhere like that. Right? Niners maybe in the running. Moving into our number one waiver wire ad, probably this one will be probably popular, right? Kenyan Drake, he's already been a popular ad this year. So now 8% owned. Kenyan Drake came in and he did well, man. He filled in pretty nicely, man. He looked pretty good. He looked a lot better than early on in the season. 10 carries for 120 yards, man. So he ripped off a big one there. So only 2 targets. But still, man, 120 yards, that's pretty solid for Kenyan Drake, man, against the Giants. So I think he's definitely rightfully so should be the RB1 of the week. J.K. Dobbins, right, is going through something with his knee. I'm not sure. So he had to come out. And Kenyon Drake went in there, filled in good.
Yeah, I think he's definitely earning some more playing time. I'm not a huge Kenyon Drake fan. I actually had him in a lot of leagues early on, and because I knew that J.K. Dobbins wasn't ready, and he just didn't really do much those first weeks. But now, I mean, this past week he did good. So I mean, yeah, you have to. At this point, he's definitely worth the ad, just because we don't know what's going to happen with J.K. Dobbins, right? That knee is swelling, or he had some stiffness, I believe. So we just don't know moving forward. So yeah, it's a great offense to be the running back in, right? So if he's available, yeah, we have to try to add him to our team if we can.
Yep. So going into our ending, we're going to be closing with our strikeout ad. So here we go, guy. I'm going to give you a couple of guys. I don't think you've heard these yet. And let me see what you think. So I got Greg Dortch on here. Marquise Brown. At first I heard season ending. Now I'm hearing it. He has a chance to come back maybe in 6 weeks. But I think there's an opening there. You never know. Maybe Greg Dortch gets mixed back in there. So I know a lot of people will be on Robbie Anderson. He's above 50% owned. So that's why he's not on here for us. But I think Greg Dortch is a good little speculative ad. You never know. Maybe he earns some more snap share. And we know with he did pretty good. He did good, right? Respectable when he was in there. Now, TDP, Tyrion Davis Price, the guy we liked before the season to win that RB2 job in San Francisco. This past week, San Francisco, the running back struggled. Jeff Wilson didn't look good. Tevin Coleman did not look good this week. So I think Tyrion Davis Price, right? He's just back from an injury. right? He was basically like a healthy scratch. He was in there, but he only played like one snap or something ridiculous. So I think they'll go after what you saw this past week. I think Tyrion Davis Price, really the first game that Elijah Mitchell was down, Tyrion Davis Price got, I think, 14 carries, right? So I think he was pretty much that RB2 spot, right behind Jeff Wilson. So then he suffered that injury, right? That same game, I believe. But now he's back, and I think he's going to fill right back into that RB2 slot. And I think he can even overtake Jeff Wilson, especially that how Jeff Wilson looked this past week. Okay, so then we're going to Gus Edwards. Gus Edwards, just a good little speculative ad. He's already been practicing for a few weeks. And now with Dobbins suffering that injury, right, or a little not an injury but a setback, I think Gus Edwards is a good little ad as well, who could compete possibly for the RB1 spot, right, with Kenyan Drake. Then you got Damian Williams. I don't know why I spelled it like that, but Damian Williams is also 8% rostered. He should be back, right, and they have that hole there at the RB position. It without Cordell Patterson, who's on IR. So Damian Williams could come back. He was the RB2 before Patterson went down. So Damian Williams could come in and take that RB1 spot back. And we have Jake Ferguson, just a super deep flyer. But Dalton Schultz had a setback in practice or a setback there, and he didn't come back. He was supposed to come back and play. And Jake Ferguson filled in good, man. He had a solid night, and he looked good. If you watch that touchdown, like even in preseason, I saw this guy. He made some impressive moves. Like he can move for a big man, right? And so he made a good little play, almost like a juke, man. And he got into the end zone. So I like Jake Ferguson. He didn't play too much, but he earned some targets, got a touchdown. So if Dalton Schultz, right, you have Dalton Schultz. If he misses a few more weeks, and then you got Dak coming back, I think Jake Ferguson could be a good little fill-in for some bye weeks coming up. So what do you think about this, right? Who are some guys you like on here?
Well, I'll talk quickly about TDP. I think is a guy that I really like on this list. He's a rookie, and he's shown in preseason he had some pretty good, like I guess pop, I would say, right, or juice. And so and like you said, Jeff Wilson didn't look very good, right? Tevin Coleman, we know who Tevin Coleman is. So we know that the 49ers, they swap out backs like every other week. And so I had TDP. Obviously, he got hurt. He was on IR. I held him. So now I'm hoping he comes back for one of my teams, right? So he's the guy I really like at the running back position. I do also like Gus Edwards. So those would be the two guys that I would be definitely looking out for. And I like Jake Ferguson, man. You kind of stole my thunder. He was going to be one of my go get guys or buys for dynasty, right? We're talking dynasty, right? Not season, but in dynasty, if you're playing in a tight end premium league, he's probably available. And Dalton Schultz, I believe, is on the franchise tag.
Mhm.
So there's a good chance that Dalton Schultz is not a Dallas Cowboy next year. I don't see them tagging him again, especially because he hasn't had a good season. It's been an injury-riddled season. They're going to need some. They're going to have to make some other moves at other positions. And so if Jake Ferguson can continue to impress, even in a limited fashion for the rest of this season, there's a good chance that they just roll with Jake Ferguson, right? I mean, yeah, I guess they could draft another tight end, but he might get an opportunity. So if I'm in a tight end premium league or a dynasty league where they have, you play like a two tight end league, I would definitely take a look at Jake Ferguson for sure.
Yeah, definitely, man. He might earn a nickname, man. Fergie Ferg. I'm gonna call him Fergie Ferg. If you have another solid game, it's gonna be Fergie Ferg. But
Fergalicious.
that's all we have. Fergalicious. So that is all we have for you guys today. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hopefully, some of these guys will help you. They're guaranteed on your waiver wire. If they do well, we'll see. But hopefully, these guys will help you out. And if you like the show, guys, be sure to like and subscribe. Check out some of our other videos as well as our podcast on Apple and Spotify. So until then, guys, we'll see you guys later.